How did I manifest New York, Paris, Amsterdam, and working for Tony Robbins? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new podcast episode. I'm in Daniels, and I could say I am fresh off from a plane from Amsterdam from my trip. It was the most incredible and craziest thing that I have ever done. My first solo trip, my first solo trip ever, and then it being an international trip, and then it just being a crazy 2 week trip. What was I thinking? Where did it all start? Let's get into this week's podcast episode. Okay, so it all started with Tony Robbins. If you don't know, Tony Robbins is a transformational coach. I would say he is someone that I have learned so much from. I do his programs every single year, every free program that he has. I am there on YouTube, on Zoom. I have paid for his programs year after year, and I have gotten my ROI, my return on investment, over and over again. Before I started Tony's programs, and this is not an ad, I was okay with my life. I was okay, and my life was good, and it reached like great, or I should say good heights. Then I started doing Tony Robbins programs. Then I saw what was possible for myself. I saw that I was capping myself. I thought I had reached my level 10, but I was actually only on level 3 because there were 7 other levels to go. And it just made me see the possibilities that I had not even envisioned for myself. And that's why when I meet people now that had known me from back then, it's like, what happened? Like, how on earth did everything shift for you? And it's because of the teachings of this guy. Okay, so I started doing Tony Robbins programs in 2021. I would say that's when everything shifted for me. And thankfully I had a partner, or have a partner, that did the program with me. He actually introduced me to Tony Robbins. What are the chances he introduced me to Tony Robbins? And now I'm like the biggest fan. So we did the Tony Robbins program, and I probably got promoted 3 times in 3 years. Every time I got promoted, I was in a different country. The same like what just happened, which I'm going to get into. We bought a bigger house. We moved from like an apartment to like an crazier size house compared to what we had. Our mindset shifts. And when we did that, we didn't even know how we were going to afford it. But because of Tony's teaching, showing what's possible, he goes through like limiting beliefs, setting goals, your wheel of life. A lot of the things that we do in your next level is from the teachings from Tony Robbins. So anyway, one day, so obviously I'm obsessed with these teachings, right? And I try to attend his programs as often as I can, but mostly when I feel like I'm ready to reach that next stage. So the first time I attended his program, I knew that I wanted to be a director at the company that I didn't even start at yet. Check, got that. The second time I did his program, I knew that I wanted to start my business. Your next level, check. The third time I did the program, which was the last time before this one, I wanted my life to be more sexy, more like luscious, more in my feminine, more like enjoying every aspect of life. Check. I am like feeling so sexy in life right now. So I was ready to do his program again. And every time I've done it virtually. So then what happened was one night I think it was in September, there was a free program online hosted by Tony and his wife, Sage, for Women's Day. Can't remember what it was called. Maybe Unstoppable or She's Unstoppable or something like that. So then I attended this program, and they have like multiple free programs, especially at the beginning of the year, and then Women's Day, and sometimes it's 1 day, sometimes it's 3 days. He gives so much value for free. So then I attended this program in September, and the program is usually like it goes starts at about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and it goes to like the middle of the night, South African time. At the end of the program, they were talking about the next event, which I was going to attend online, and I was really looking forward to it. But then they were talking about, so they usually have the events online and then in person as well. And then they were talking about the in-person one being in New York. And at about 1 a.m., something just made me consider, what if I attended the event in person? And that thought, the excitement that thought gave me was like, it just gave me this renewed excitement for life. Like I had like this new mission. I was so excited about it. I got up, I went to my boyfriend who was still awake. He was busy working at the time. And I told him, I was like, I think I should like go and do this event in New York. Do you want to come? And he's like, he has work and stuff, but he's super happy. If I want to go, like I should do it. And that's the one thing, like if you have a new idea or something that you want to go after, make sure that you tell someone that is going to be excited for you. Because like it's so easy to get discouraged by people that can't see the vision the way that you can see it. And you can't also expect people to see your vision. It's yours after all. So I told him about it and he was so excited, which made me so excited. And I went to bed and I started like looking at flights. And then I saw the flight that came up was this Air France flight that flies to New York, but via Paris, for the dates that I needed of the event. And I was like, how wild is this? Like, if this is not meant to be, because if you know anything about me, I am obsessed with Paris. It's like my favorite city in the world. When I go there, I just feel like this is where I belong. And I'm like, what could be more perfect than this? Like, it must be. And I looked at accommodation in New York and I was just speaking to a client that was telling me about how tricky it is to get visas, etc. And I was like, this is a lot. This is like a lot, and the cost is a lot. But you know what? I had this thought in my mind, so I'm gonna pursue it. And the next day, I spoke to one of my friends, and I was like, "Hey, can you be my accountability partner for this goal that I have?" And I'm like, I need you to be there every time, like I'm trying to talk myself out of it, because I know that that's what's gonna happen. A limiting belief is going to kick in. And then I was excited about it and time went on. And then I started doing the numbers and started thinking about how much money I have coming in versus how much I'm going to have to spend for this. And I was feeling the limiting beliefs were kicking in. I was like, this is so much money for one trip. Am I sure I'm going to do it? Why don't I save up rather? And then next year I can do it. Like, what about flying alone? Like, it would be so much better with someone else. And I'm not even going to know anyone. And again, money, all of these things kept on popping up. And it was ultimately limiting beliefs. And then I had this thought. I thought, what if, as humans, what if we executed on every crazy idea that we had? What would our life look like? When we have these ideas, like we so easily talk ourselves out of it. And it's like fear. Okay. And that's why Mel Robbins has this, what is it, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method? I don't know what it's called. 5-second rule. I don't know what it's called. But anyway, she does this thing ultimately, like when you wake up and you need to get out of bed, you just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and you get up. Because if you like continue laying, and then your brain is going to come up with all the reasons why you should not get out of bed, because your brain is there to keep you safe, right? And this is what happened when you have an idea and you don't execute on it. It's because your brain came up with all these reasons of why you shouldn't and why it should keep you safe. But yeah, I thought, like, what if we just executed on every idea that we had? Because surely, like I keep on saying, that the ideas that you have is like, it's not just there for fun. Like, it means that it is possible for you. That's why you have the idea. And when that popped up into my head, I thought to myself, I need to make a way. I need to make a way to attend this. I know it's going to be crazy expensive for me, but I need to like make this trip happen. And I only had about a month because it was September and everything was happening the first week in November. So then I thought to myself, okay, who's going to pay for this? I am going to need to pay for it, but how can I get other people to help me pay for it? Okay. And then what I did was I thought to myself, okay, this ticket is 16,000 Rand. And so is my flights, and so is my accommodation, and so is food and everything. What can I do? What can I do to still be there? And then I thought, if I cannot pay to attend, maybe I can work to attend. And then I was like, that is the best idea that I've ever had, because I always wanted to crew a Tony Robbins event. And this is going to put me in close proximity to Tony Robbins, and it's going to show me how the behind the scenes work, so that one day when your next level is like so big, I'll know exactly, or on our way to growing your next level, I know exactly how the behind the scenes work. Like I've always wanted to do this. This is a brilliant idea. It's in New York. Let me see if I can apply to work there. And then I applied. I think it was maybe like a Friday. Oh, I needed to wait for applications to be open. I checked my applications and then I applied on the Friday. And I was like, this is just perfect for me. And I think I only told my boyfriend, I just told one person, this is what I'm going to do. And then that stage of my life, what I was doing also was I was reading this book by Joe Dispenza, and it was talking about like being present, being in the moment of what is happening in your life right now. So I was really practicing being present. And I had like an exceptional morning routine, which I'm trying to get back to because I just got back from my trip. I used to get up early every morning. I would do my shower. I would meditate. I'd read. I literally had time to read in the morning. I'd go for a walk. Like going for a walk was a priority. And then I'll start my work day. Or I'd start my work day and then go for a walk afterwards. But my morning consisted of meditating, journaling, reading, and then going for a walk. It was like a non-negotiable, and it just seemed like such a beautiful time. But I was so in alignment with myself. And in this period, I wasn't looking for more out there. Like I was just experiencing my day as is. I was taking each moment as it comes. And let me tell you, that is not an easy thing. Like reflecting back now, this book by Joe Dispenza, I think it was called Becoming Supernatural, really taught me this. And I didn't see it at the time because some of the concepts are hard to grasp. But reflecting back now, that is exactly what got me into that mode. So then what happened was, I think, yeah, that was a Friday. And then I think the next week. So what I've also been doing was I've been going on my solo dates, so spending more alone time with myself. And I would go on a Wednesday to the sushi restaurant. It's a big restaurant, and I felt like I had it all to myself on a Wednesday during lunchtime. I'd order my sushi and I'd do something for me during that time. And this particular day, I was doing my vision board for October. So it's the 30th of December, and I was doing my vision board for October. And on the vision board, I had put down like a welcome crew sign, a picture of Tony Robbins. I put the Air France flight, the airplane, an image of the airplane. I put a image of New York. And then I was also planning our Your Next Level Glow and Grow events. I put some images there as well. I had no doubt that the event was going to be amazing because we've done like 2 events. And the Glow and Grow, what the entire event was about was like being present in that moment was what I was practicing in my real life, because I can't possibly have an event if I'm not practicing it, right? I needed to practice and experience things before I teach people how to live it. So I was practicing that as well. So I was in a really good space. So I did my vision board. And then what happened was as I had mentioned, every morning I was reading Joe Dispenza. And then this one chapter in his book, I think I mentioned it in one of the previous podcast episodes, he described a different way of manifesting. So he speaks about how his daughter wanted to manifest a job and flights to another country. So she wanted to have this experience, and he used to ask her every day, are you visualizing? And the method that he speaks about on how to visualize is you visualizing your experience as if it had already happened, which was a new concept for me. So I do script as if it already happened, but visualizing as if it already happened was very different to me, because I used to only visualize the thing happening, which worked for me in manifestation, and I was able to manifest things like that. But I thought, let me try this concept of visualizing as if it had already happened. What I did was I went on my walk, and I imagined that I was coming back from my trip, and I had already been I had already gotten accepted to work with Tony Robbins. I had already been at the event. I had already been on that Air France flight. I had already been to Paris. I had already been to New York, everything, etc. And I got into that visualization so incredibly like out of this world, if I should put it like that while I was on my walk, I forgot I was on my walk. I forgot I was in this reality because my mind and my brain and my like consciousness and subconscious, my entire being was in that visualization, was in that state of like the fact that everything that I had quote unquote wanted had already happened. So I'd already basically came back and already experienced it. And the thing about manifestation is when you want to manifest something or bring something to life, when we want something, it's not the thing that we want, it's the feeling that we think that thing is going to give us. Okay. Like when you want to earn more money, okay, it's not about the money in your hand, it's about like how you think that money is going to make you feel. When you manifest a relationship, it's how you think that partner is going to make you feel. So essentially, in order to manifest faster, you need to step into that feeling that you think the thing is going to give you. So by me visualizing that it had already happened, I was stepping into the feeling that it had already happened, that I had already experienced. And I was in this like feeling of joy. And then the one thing that I also did, like once you already experienced that feeling of joy, you've already been there, right? So it's almost like you already had it. Like I'm back, quote unquote, back from the event because of this visualization. Then I could detach from it. Then I could like let it go because I already experienced what it was like. So I've been there. My like subconscious has been there already. I've experienced, I am in the state of joy because I was there. So now I can let go and I can detach from it. And what that means is that I'm not obsessing over it because I already felt how it felt. I'm not obsessing over it and I let it go. And because I was still practicing of being in the joy of every single day, that was the most perfect thing for me because I just completely let go and I went on with my life. And I remember there was one Sunday I had, no. Then I think it was like the Monday or something like that. It was a public holiday on our side in South Africa. And I was like, oh, let me check my email. I'm getting my dates a bit mixed up. But anyway, I checked my email and then they had responded and they sent me an assessment. And then I completed the assessment and I was like, I'm going to complete this assessment to the best of my ability. Like my life depends on it, but in a way, like in a fun way. In a fun way. And I completed the assessment. I gave like, and when I say like when my life depends on it, it means I'm going to be present in that moment. So it maybe took me 30 minutes to complete the assessment, or maybe it was a 20-minute assessment and I gave 30 minutes to it. So then I completed the assessment and then, yeah, I just went on with life. I probably told my boyfriend about it and that was it. I didn't share it with anyone. I didn't make it a big deal. It was just like part of life. And then one day, a Sunday, I was going on with my life and I went to the silent disco and I was just like in the state of joy. I was literally probably celebrating my life, thinking about it now. I was just doing the things that bring me joy and I was going to the silent disco by myself and I came back from the silent disco and I was like, oh, let me check my email, like, because I just check my email regularly. And as I'm going in to check my email, I like remember to myself, oh, I applied for this thing. And like I sent my assessment, let me check. And then I got approved. And I was like, when I got approved, I was so shocked. I like had to take a second to check if this was reality because I thought I was still in that visualization. Because that visualization that I did was so strong that what was happening in reality now felt like it was part of it. And I got in and I cried and I did a happy dance and I was just so excited for it. And like I think I'm like playing down how excited I was to get in, like to be part of a New York event when I'm from South Africa. And I've never attended an in-person event, but I was going to be part of an in-person event. And I was selected out of, I don't know how many people applied for these, to be part of this event. And then the next thing was when I got accepted, so I joined the Facebook group and then I needed to work out flights, accommodation, and visas. And my time was so tight because by then it was like, I don't know, maybe second week or so of October. And remember everything was happening. Like I think I needed to fly on the 10th of of November. So then what I did was I needed to look for flights. And I went online, and then the flights were so expensive. It was so expensive. And one day I just remembered this one website, and I went on the website, and it literally, like, the flights were 5,000 Rand discount on the flights. And I booked it immediately. This, like, through this process, I'm not telling anyone, even booking the flights. Like, my boyfriend didn't even know that I did it, because I was just like in the moment. I was just experiencing it. It was a big deal, but I wasn't even making it that big of a deal because I was kind of detached to it. Because remember, in my visualization, it had already happened. Accommodation. So I was searching and searching and searching for accommodation, and it was expensive, and I was scared to live alone, blah, blah, blah. I joined the Facebook group, and some amazing female posted and said that she's looking for some housemates. She has an Airbnb. She's looking for some housemates, and it was more affordable than what it was going to be living by myself. And I've always wanted to go on a girls trip, so I thought, like, this is a perfect way for me to live with a bunch of girls that had worked at the event before. I think she was the only girl out of the other girls that lived there that had worked at or two of them had worked at the event before. And like, she seemed so nice, and I was like, this is just like perfect. I feel safe. I am going to say hell yes. So everything worked out. And then the visas, I remember, like, people were telling me how complicated and the visas were. So I first had to do my US visa. My US visa, I did it took me probably less than a week to go there, get it approved, and get it back, literally less than a week. And after I did that visa, I needed to do my French visa. And that visa also took me less than a week. And like, at this point, I was telling one of my friends about it, and they were even panicking, like, am I going to get my stuff back in time? Because a week before I flew, that's when I got my last visa. But I was not in panic state at all. I was in flow state. I knew that this was like meant for me. It was like just the most craziest thing that I've ever done. Looking back at it now, it was like, what was I, when I eventually like went, I was like, what on earth was I thinking? And only once everything was approved, because I couldn't go to New York without getting the French visa because of the length of time that I'm spending in Paris and Amsterdam because of my flights. I think if you spend more than 8 hours, then you need a visa. So even if I didn't get a visa, I couldn't even do New York. So I needed to wait for everything before I shared with anyone. So I waited for everything to be approved. And then a week before me flying, did I actually tell my family? Did I actually tell my friends that I am going? And then we had our Your Next Level Glow and Grow event on the 9th of November. And literally the next day, the 10th of November, I was on a flight to Paris. And I was on a flight to Paris the 10th. And then I landed in Paris the 11th of November, which is 11/11. It couldn't be a more perfect time. And I spent the night in Paris. I spent a night in Paris, like what? By myself. I literally got to the airport. I took like 3 or 4 trains to my hotel. I ordered Uber Eats, and I spent the night in my room. The morning I woke up and I Googled what was like the best place to see the Paris sunrise. And it was like this most beautiful place. And I went there and I experienced like the sunrise, and I saw the Eiffel Tower. And I was like one of the few people that were there, like before all the tourists, I say like the tourists as if I'm not one, all the other tourists came. It was the most beautiful experience. By 8 o'clock, people were getting engaged there. It was magical. I called like my family, etc. And then I think like by 10 o'clock, I needed to be on my flight to New York. Can you believe it? Sat on a flight to New York. I arrived in New York, in New Jersey. I was the first one to arrive at the apartment, the Airbnb that we were staying in. And then I met like these amazing, I stayed with, I think we were like 7 girls in total. So you can just imagine how big the space was. And then I met like these amazing women, like they were just incredible, and they were so different to me, and everyone was different to each other. But like together, it was just such a unique group of women, and they were so loving, and they provided all the snacks to eat. and transport to the Tony Robbins experience, because we were all working at the Tony Robbins event, which was, oh my gosh, it was like mind blowing. Like I'll probably have to do an episode about like just what I experienced from working at that event. Not only, so there's like various positions that you hold. You could be like a state inducer, which is like get the people into state, which is probably part of like most people's jobs, is really to be there and to like support the participants. But not only do you like support the participants, you also get so much training yourself. And depending on your position, you get to be in the room when Tony is doing his thing, and the other speakers as well. So as a crew member, so they provide you with all the meals, etc. And you get like your crew t-shirts, you get about 3 of them. And then you also get like your crew tag, which is just so cool. It was so cool. And then, so you basically work for 5 days, and the event is 4 days. So my battery is going to die. So I have to be very quick here. My battery's on 11%. What are the chances? So day 1, you kind of get your stuff, and every day is like hyped up. We have our own crew room, and like it is a party in there every single day at like 9 a.m. Like we are dancing and jumping around and like screaming our lungs out and meeting incredible people and getting training on how to support the participants, and then also like on your own mindset, on your own like mindfulness. We had training like from Master Co. We had training from like Brian Bradley, Master Co., which is all about like mindfulness and energy and calling back your energy. And then Brian Bradley was about fitness and your health, etc. And then so in my position, so I had overseen with a colleague, a team member. We're in charge of like the VIP and the diamond and the platinum and all of that. So we got to meet like exceptional people and really get to know them and be in the room when Tony was speaking and when all the other speakers were there. Oh my gosh. Like we even got to like, on day 1, it was fully Tony. He was going through, his processes with everyone. And then you also get training on, so Tony does this process like where you do a fire walk at the end of day 1. So as crew members working at the event, we had probably like 4 or 5 trainings on how to send people over the fire. And my role was kind of to get people in state as well. So we had about 34 fire lanes because there was about 20,000 participants. So you can just imagine how many people were sent over my fire lane. So basically, like there's a fire team even that works on like making sure that this fire is happening. And I think they're there like the day before already, setting up the fire, etc. So we sent like hundreds of people and like kids, like 10-year-old, like 13-year-olds, I would imagine, across the fire. And when all the participants were done, the crew got to go over there. And let me tell you, like sending people over the fire and getting them into state is so different than you doing it yourself. Like with my bare feet, I walked over those hot coals. It was insane. It was phenomenal. We had day 2, we had like incredible speakers as well. Day 3, so day 2 we had it was a lot about business and was about like sales strategies as well. It was about really how to be successful in life. Day 3, was it day 3? I think, yeah. Day 3 we had what was on day 3? I can't remember who exactly were the speakers on day 3. And then was it Pitbull? Yeah, day 3 we had speakers, but then at the end we had Pitbull. Like Pitbull literally did a concert, like freaking Pitbull. It was crazy. What was so exciting was like we used to get the schedule but we kind of can't tell the participants about what's going to happen because we just want them to experience it. And yeah, like Pitbull was there. Like what the hell? That's insane. And then the day 4 we had, it was more of like a health day, and we had the Master Co doing the meditations, and we had some other health experts. And really everything that you need for your life, you can get out of those 4 days. Without a doubt, you come out as a different person. We got so much other training during that days as well to help support the participants because of the processes that you go through. There is a science to everything, to every single day. It's not just like training for training's sake. It is really to reprogram your subconscious where you can step into the next level version of yourself ultimately. The event took place at the Prudential Center in New Jersey, but I forgot to mention day one when I arrived in New Jersey. I think I slept, and then the next day I went to New York City. Like I took a train by myself. I took a train to the city, and I booked a solo tour with a tour guide, and the tour guide took me around the city like for the full day. I think it was a 5-hour walking tour, which I would recommend wherever you go because it is just like incredible. During that tour, it was amazing. I got to see every part of New York City that I wanted to experience and eat things that I didn't think I would eat. Vegan, obviously. The amount of energy that you get from the Tony Robbins like events is, even when you are there as an attendee, when I did it virtual, you don't even know that that energy exists in you. And this event definitely like tapped into and unlocked a different level of energy. I was working like 15-hour days. I was sleeping for 3 hours, but I had more energy than I came there with, which was just mind-blowing. Then I also, after the event, I also spent another day in the city by myself. I went on like a solo date, got myself like some really nice lunch and took myself on a nice coffee date, walked around, etc. And then the next day I took a flight out to Paris. And let me tell you, like when I'm traveling, like I am taking the train. I am like a normal, like local person there. So then I flew out to Paris the next day and I spent the day in Paris, but I was clear about what I wanted to do. I arrived like at 5:55. Obviously, I arrived that time in the morning in Paris and I knew I wanted to go to the Louvre and I wanted to go have some hot chocolate, etc. So again, I took the train to the Louvre and I walked around there and I went to see the Eiffel Tower and I walked through the gardens. And I went to the coffee shop, like a popular coffee shop that I saw on Instagram, obviously. I went to go have some hot chocolate there. I went to the shopping center, Galeries Lafayette, I think it is. And I went to go do some shopping. And then I took my train back to the airport. And then I got onto my next flight, which I was so tired. I've never been so tired in my life. I was falling asleep at the airport. I was so tired. I was like on my phone on Instagram to keep myself awake, but falling asleep while scrolling. And then I went to Amsterdam and I spent the night in Amsterdam. I last minute like booked a hotel. Actually, my boyfriend booked a hotel for me because he's like, you need to sleep. And then he booked a hotel for me and I got like this, like the most awesome room, what I would describe as the most awesome room for myself. If I could have booked any room, it would be that. So I was super grateful for him for making that happen for me. And then I flew out and here I am back in Cape Town. The one thing that when I was there, honestly, I did think, who the hell was I when I set up this trip for myself? Because it was crazy. And the craziest part about this was that I was doing this by myself. And two, I made all of these things happen in like less than a month. And I didn't think about the what ifs. I didn't think about like, oh, if this, then that, or what about this, or like none of that. Only when I arrived in New York, I really thought, I was like, what am I doing? Did I really fly across the country, like get on multiple aeroplanes to come and work at an event with people that I have no idea with, to stay with people that I've never met online, that everything is just on the internet. Like, who was I? But I must tell you, I know who I was. I was doing this from my higher self point of view. This was my higher self taking action. It wasn't like the me day to day that you see. It was like it's almost like it's not the me like that's gonna go to or that went to bed or whatever, because I came back as a different version of myself. Literally, like I came back on Friday, Saturday night, I woke up at 1:30 and I was like, I need to redesign my goals for myself. I need to like replan what the next steps are for me, because whatever I thought it was, it is 10 times bigger than that. So I would really like want to encourage you. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is not so that I can tell you about how awesome my trip was, which it was, but it's to show you that if you have that crazy idea, no matter what it is, to just like take action and just be consistent in your thinking about the fact that you are going to do this. Don't let that limiting beliefs get into the way. Don't let like the safety part of your brain kick in. Your brain wants to keep you safe. Don't be around the negative Nancy's that's going to ask like, how is this possible? Or that don't think it's possible for them. And typically what we want to do is we want to bring other people on the journey with us, which is beautiful, which is so beautiful. But sometimes it's not their journey. Sometimes this thing is for yourself. So go and do it for yourself. Because if we follow the crazy steps that are coming into our minds, the crazy ideas that we have them for a reason, because we are meant to take that. We are meant to take that step. We are meant to take action on it. So stop letting other people or your limiting beliefs stop you from living your best life. I hope that you learned something from this episode. If you got to this point, please let me know. Leave me a white heart on Instagram. And I don't know why I needed to say it like that. It is 10:30 right now. My battery is on 5%. So I have to go. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Until next time, I'll chat with you in the next episode. Bye.